you give me the host thing? Thanks.
Excellent, everyone, and welcome. It's Wednesday, August 31st, here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Paul Pursuti, and I'll be your host tonight for our Wednesday night midweek Oasis service. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Richard Robinson used to always say, welcome church family. So I am adopting that as part of our Wednesday night service. We're glad you're here. So why do we call it the Oasis? That's because it's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. We present our Wednesday night services in the satsang style, our version of that, with the intention that these gatherings be informal, intimate, and rich. Our annual theme for the year here at Centers for Spiritual Living is Wonder, Wonder Everywhere. And tonight is the last official service celebrating our theme for August, Living Everyday Wonder in Nature. Now, I need to tell you a little secret. It's Fifth Wednesday, and Fifth Wednesday means it's Christopher Brown, and he talks about whatever he wants to talk about. So we're blessed to have him here tonight as our speaker. It is Fifth Wednesday. Oh, that's a lot of Wednesdays to do. So I'm welcoming anyone that's here for the first time. You found us on our homepage. If you're interested in learning more about us, please explore the events page. Also, there's a place you can sign up to receive our Village News newsletter that tells you what's coming up in the coming week. It's on the lower left-hand corner of our homepage. If you haven't done it already, we're asking you to do it now so we can improve the quality of our transmission. If you can turn off your cameras and microphones while we present the rest of the service. Don't worry, we'll have a chance to share and talk and do our business a little later in the program. So we also have some special and important announcements towards the end. So I'm requesting that you stick around for them. We've got some exciting things going on here at the center, and I'd love to share them with you. Now we're going to take a little twist, Reverend Jerry, tonight. Christopher Brown has made a request, and when practitioner Christopher Brown makes a request, I respond appropriately, right, Mr. Mentor? So he asked me to do the opening prayer, and I'm humbled to do this from my lowly position. So the way I do it is I just remember what everybody else does, that we don't begin our service or end our service without a prayer. So let's close our eyes for a moment and take a nice deep breath and ground ourselves, knowing this is an opportunity to know the truth for a few minutes. Eckhart Tolle said, if the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will be enough. So I open this prayer in a moment of gratitude. I'm extremely thankful for everyone and everything that's allowed this service to transpire. I'm grateful for the platform and Reverend Jerry's guidance on leading us and allowing us to experience the Wednesday night service. I'm grateful to know the truth that there's one power, one presence, one divine right action in my life. And I know this for everyone that's on this call. I'm also reminded of my learning with Dr. Daniel Lee Morgan through another forum that we have going on here at the center. And he taught me a couple of weeks ago, we are persons of good, persons of spirit. We're whole, complete, perfect, eternal, infinite, right here and right now. So I breathe that in with them in a moment of gratitude for our speaker, Christopher Brown, knowing that whatever he presents tonight is something we all need, that we all want, that we will all enjoy. We will learn something new tonight, and we will learn it together. So I know this gathering is divinely blessed. We're in a space where we welcome it, and we're thankful. I'm grateful for Susan Urquhart Brown, who will be doing our closing prayer tonight, and for her beautiful meditation tonight. I know this event is truly, truly divinely blessed. So I release this prayer into the universe, knowing it doesn't return void, that it will just go and do its thing, and it will be perfect, whole, complete, eternal, and infinite. I'm grateful. And if you're in alignment with me on this, I say, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you. So our speaker tonight is a practitioner of fabulousness. He's a mentor of mine, and he works with me at the center, and he doesn't like it when I talk about all of his wonderful things, but I am truly, truly grateful that he comes on Fifth Wednesdays and gives us an opportunity to learn something new. His wisdom is great, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So his topic tonight is suffering optional? So at this point, I turn it over to Christopher. Thank you, Christopher, for being here. We look forward to hearing your message.
Thank you, Paul. We've heard the statement, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And when I hear that, something in me gets a little woozy. It's like, really? Let's sort of take that apart. Because if you were to say that, well, suffering is optional. If you were to say that to a mother who just lost her child, if you were to say that to somebody who's just diagnosed with cancer, if you were to say that to somebody who has been living with chronic back pain for 20 years, suffering is optional, you might get an earful. So what is this suffering is optional? I mean, is that really true? Well, let's take a look at what is suffering. What is the definition of suffering? And why do we put animals out of their misery? Because they are suffering. Well, the definition of suffering from the dictionary is it's a state of undergoing pain. It's a state of undergoing heavy distress or hardship. That's the definition of suffering. So maybe we need to take a look at two different kinds of suffering. Perhaps the first suffering is the physical pain part of it, the emotional pain, the grief, having to endure hardships. That's one type of pain and suffering. Now, perhaps there's another kind of suffering, and that's the suffering that may be optional. And that's the kind of suffering that comes from telling a story about what just happened. Take, for an example, you're at a taco truck in Oakland, and some scruffy gentleman who's not very gentle comes up to you and kicks you right in the shin. Ow! Wow. Now, is that suffering optional? No, it hurts. That's pain. You're undergoing suffering right now. And then what comes later is, damn, the story. I'm never coming to this taco truck. This part of Oakland is too dangerous. I hate homeless people. This guy is probably on drugs and mentally ill. But I'm going to go home and I'm going to get my posse together and we're going to go down and we're going to find that guy. And you can see how this escalates. By the time somebody gets home to tell their friends about what happened, the pain in the shin has already gone. But the secondary pain is ramping up and becoming more painful. And I'm going to suggest that that's what is perhaps optional, if we can recognize it. In Buddhism, they call this the second arrow. The first arrow is being kicked in the shin. That's unavoidable in a way. Life is going to kick us in the shins all the time. You're going to have upset, heartbreak. It will rain on the perfect day that you planned for. It's raining. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that's just going to happen. But it's the stories we tell about us. That is perhaps, if conscious, we could take a look at. And that's what Buddhism calls the second arrow. The second arrow is we make up a story about that person that kicked us in the shins, and we stab ourselves with the second arrow. And the second arrow can be much more painful than the original. By the time you've gotten home, the shins are fine. But the anxiety and the fight, flight buildup is still in the nervous system. And it's that anxiety, that recurring trauma, that triggered trauma, that needs to be looked at. So why is it that we continue to build up that second story? Why do we work on that second story so much? Well, I just look in my own life. It's easy. I mean, I'm a creator of stories. And what I found about myself is I tell my story and I get attention. And people side with me. Oh, you poor person, that must have really hurt. How could he have done that to you? We should really do something about this. Oakland's not safe. And blah, blah. You can see how I get attention. And we get to bond together over this tragedy, this wound. And we come together over our wounds. And Carolyn Mace calls this woundology. We bond over our wounding much more easily than we bond over our joys. No one wants to hear about our joys, but our wounds, oh yes, oh buddy, how bad is it? Oh, it was horrible, it was terrible. And then we're all ears, how bad was it? Oh. So you can see that suffering kind of brings us together in a way. We've all experienced it. But it's taking a look at the payoff. We get to be validated for being right. They shouldn't have done that. We get to be right. But again, what is it that we really are looking for in life? Are we looking to be right, or are we looking to be at ease and at peace? Well, there's times when I want to be right. I just do. I want to win the argument. But when I really look, that's not what I want. When I get a chance, when I get to unhook a little bit from the situation, because I get hooked into it, and I'm probably the only one that gets hooked in, but when I'm hooked into it, it's hard to see that what I really want in life is peace. I want harmony. I want my nervous system not to be ramped up and full of cortisol. And if you've ever been at Lake Temescal, which is right by my house, I watch the ducks. And the ducks can come in and they can interfere with each other's territory. And they get all quacky. Quack, 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 quack. And within a minute, within minutes, they've flapped their wings and they've done their dance and they're good. And they're just paddling off and it's over. When we come together in an argument, we'll flap. Quack, 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 quack. And then we'll go off and we'll tell stories about how bad the other person was. And then we'll start demonizing each other and we'll start building up barriers. And you can see that by looking at the news and what's happening in our country. These are stories that are being told about the other person, about the other side. Painful stories. It's okay to perhaps demonize the story, but is it okay to demonize the person? That's where we run into the trouble. That's where our suffering really starts to get hooked in. Because when I demonize the story and the person, then I can go right to their evil. They're bad. There is no hope. I write them off. I dismiss them. In other words, I close my heart. And there's no possibility for connection. If I demonize their story, that's a different thing. I can understand perhaps where they arrived at that story, their past trauma, their childhood upbringing. There's lots of reasons that they have cited and gone in this direction. But as a person, if I can hold that perhaps they're looking for the same thing I want, what they really want is peace and to be connected. And they, in my eyes, have a very bad strategy to try to get a hold of that. So I know that I'm not the only one, that we all encounter that. And this is a part of our ripening process as maturing as people on this planet, is that we start to examine, we start to take a look at what story are coming out of me. And do I even have control of those stories? Or is this just past wounding that I've inherited from Aunt Ethel 3 generations ago? Or from some childhood trauma that I do not remember? But when I look, and when I examine, really examine quietly, I recognize that the pain in my shin has gone, and I'm keeping the pain alive, or the suffering alive, by believing in my story and repeating my story again and again. And this is not to dismiss the actual pain and the suffering that's out there, but I'm talking about that aspect of suffering that might be caused by the second arrow. And I want to make sure that's a good distinction, because to tell somebody some suffering is optional when they're in the midst of their pain and grief is violence. It's what I call spiritual violence. It shows no compassion whatsoever. And as Catherine said so beautifully last Sunday, suffering is a call for compassion. But I like to say, suffering is a call for attention, because the pain grabs our attention. First, that there is something that's amiss or out of balance in the system. Suffering is not good or bad. Pain is not good or bad. Only thinking makes it so. That's the second arrow. Because we will have to endure a lot of pain in our lives. How gracefully can we move through that pain? Or do we get hooked on it? And do we fight to our very demise? I think this is a good time for an exercise. Peter is going to be breaking us out really shortly into partners. And what you're going to be discussing with your partner is the first arrow and the second arrow, because I'd really like you to see the distinction. So if you're to look into your life, you can find times when you've been in pain or suffering caused by physical pain. That would be the first arrow. And then the second arrow is, what stories did you tell about that really were even as painful, if not more painful, than the first story? Quick example. I had chronic back pain for 15 years. And the pain was bad. But what was even worse was my constant search and my suffering in searching for a cure. Constantly searching, constantly in hope, and putting my life on hold until I got better. The pain was bad, but the second arrow was, why does this happen to me? You know, I've got to get better. I can't live my life like this. What's wrong? Blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until I saw the second arrow and the amount of pain that it was inflicting that I stopped it. And in that stopping, a miracle happened. The first arrow started to dissolve. When the second arrow disappeared, the first arrow started to dissolve. Go figure. Anyhow, you get the idea. So in your groups, as Peter breaks this out, you're going to be examining two arrows, two incidents you're going to be sharing with your partner. The first one is what the first arrow was, what kind of suffering that you experienced. Number two, what are the stories that you told about it, the second arrow. Peter, will you break us out? And if you'll turn your microphones on.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. I'm gonna try moving you to another room because you didn't get assigned.
Right, I see Alice there and me, but we're not together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I see Alice. I don't see her. Her name is there. She may not.
Okay. I'm gonna move Eileen to room 2. Does this all the time.
Hmm.
Okay, let's see. And I'm gonna move. Okay, I'm gonna try moving you to room 9. And I'll move Alice to room 9 and see if you guys look up, see if you get a dialog box.
Oops. I
No.
just pressed join and it didn't go anywhere.
Oh, really? Oh, because it says not joined, Alice and Susan. Sometimes it just is not cooperative. So, Alice, you're there, right? Hello, Alice. Hello.
She's got her mute on.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have people just do their sharing here.
Yeah.
If there's 2 of them. But she doesn't like to do these particularly. So
Oh, she
Oh,
might.
do you want to go ahead and share something around that?
Oh, me with you?
Sure.
Uh. Hmm. Huh. Okay. One is a child. Just for a little background, my older sister, I was the middle child, so I was the second girl, and then my brother came along 4 years later. And my sister was a pretty good artist. And so I don't know what got into me, but one day I drew a picture on the bedroom door, on the closet door in my bedroom.
Okay.
And I blamed it on my brother.
Oh,
And the result was they're going, gee, we didn't know Jim was that talented.
kind of backfired.
And it backfired. And they didn't know that it was me. And it was my sister came and said, well, God's going to put a black mark in your heart if you don't tell that it was you. So anyway, so I told my parents, and I got my whatever happened, which wasn't very severe. I can't remember what that was. But the second arrow was, dang, I'm really not a good artist. And so that started a story of I'm not, that could be called I'm not good enough. And then other incidents could happen in your life. And then the second arrow comes back with that.
Oh,
That as what's
Yeah.
wrong.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's always something, the second arrow is you're wrong. you blew it or whatever.
Yeah.
So
The guilt. Yeah.
yeah. How about you?
Well, I had a teacher that didn't sending everybody a note.
Okay. So good. And chat?
Is okay. Yeah, I had a teacher who didn't think I was that good of a writer, and that had a kind of an influence on me. even though I got something published in the paper, it was like third grade or something.
Yeah.
I've had a number of things like that. I had an English teacher in college that used to ridicule me about, it was in interpretive English, 1B, where you had to read stuff and then explain what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
That was always hard for me. So I internalized those things, and I thought, oh, I must not be very smart or something. And so I kind of held on to that for a long time until I realized that, I was a pretty good student. I got into the University of California and, got 2 degrees. And so I sort of let go of that after I got into a professional career. And that sort of validated, and I kind of let go of that sort of thing. And I still have to kind of let go if I get criticism. So it's something that I've had to learn. Because one of the things is our family never did any teasing. We weren't allowed to do teasing. It just, my parents didn't do it, and they were teachers, and that just wasn't part of their world. So it's a little hard for me sometimes to relate to that kind of humor. I know people are doing it because they like somebody. I know that. But it's just, I feel kind of uncomfortable, kind of, okay, how am I supposed to express it? Because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I really don't want to do that. So that's sort of upfront for me. So occasionally, if I get to know somebody pretty well, I might be able to do something. Peggy Cotton is something I've gotten to know pretty well, and I can go back and forth a little bit with her. So yeah, so it's interesting how these little things that influence us kind of hang around. Yeah, it's hard. Definitely.
Have you ever thought of telling someone why you don't like to tease?
Well, no, because just about everywhere I go, I'm even here, Paul. I mean, talks about the Liars Club and all of that, and it's all in fun, and and I understand that, and I just go, okay, that's fine. I don't particularly want to join in because I don't trust myself to. Well, I don't know. I'm not in that group, so I wouldn't comment on that. But I'm afraid that I might go a little too hard edge. If I can do that, and I'm aware of that in myself. My mom was pretty hard edged and critical. So I just kind of go, I listen to it and I kind of laugh along, but I generally don't participate. It's not my thing. Yeah. If I can say, because I don't want to criticize somebody else because they're just having fun. They're not being mean intentionally. If they are, I might say something about that. Yeah. But yeah. So, okay, people are going to come
What's
back.
our timing going?
5 seconds. Well, your timer's up in the upper right there. Should be a timer up there. Just hit 0.
This time it says up for 8 minutes. This is up for the 8 minutes. Do you want to close?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to close all
Because
of
I'm here with you, so.
Yeah, well, they'll join us here shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Good
for that.
talking with you. Yeah.
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 It's really interesting how we get stuck on certain things like that and reinforce it with that second arrow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Got to watch out for that.
So I have this thing up here that says open all rooms, add room, recreate. How do I just do the little, oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay, we're back. Have you all thanked your wonderful partners?
Thank you.
Yes.
And we got booted out. I want to thank Louis. It was a pleasure being with him this evening.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Thank you.
We got-
You want to know what happened to Alice?
I got caught in the middle of mine, but that's okay.
Aw.
So what was recognized by looking into your life and sort of breaking it down between the 2 arrows? What did you notice about yourself or learn about yourself? Judith,
Unmute.
you have to unmute.
That my goal as we talked about in Dr. Dean today, is to something happens and I do not have a reaction. I have a choice. And so I can choose to act. It still may be, and I think it's an okay thing to do, is to call someone and allow them to give me some sympathy or empathy. I'm not against that. If the thing is, if it's a year later and I'm still talking about it, well, that's a different story. So I'm working on it though. No one's kicked me lately. It's just some other things have come out. But I'm working on something happens and I don't immediately react to it. I allow myself, some time to think about what is my goal really in life, which is to make a choice of an action. And in terms of what happens with another person, but my choice could still be at least once or twice to tell somebody about it. I'm human, as I say, and I would like, sometimes I like empathy or sympathy. So that's it.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Who else would like to chime in? Just unmute yourself and begin.
Joni.
So yeah, Judith and I were partners and we quickly got from physical to emotional discomforts. And that in sharing, the more we shared, again, not on and on and on and on, but the more we shared, the more we could grow and take a better look at what was going on. That was a helpful thing, not to like stuff it.
Oh, right, not to stuff it.
Yeah, and again, that we have choices of how we respond and react, and that our goal basically was to have freedom and joy and love.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yes, Susan Brecker.
I was partners with Freya, and what I noticed about what I shared with her was that when this event occurred, I did not want to live in the event, so I did not share it a whole lot. I shared it with some folks, but mainly I shared it with a therapist who can assist me in not remaining in the story, because I knew if I stayed in the story, I wouldn't heal. There would not be a healing. And if I stayed in the story, I would suffer a lot.
Yeah.
Because the story is what is painful.
Wow. Yeah.
The event passed, but the story was painful. And I was thinking then, am I really clear about why I did not share the story? And the other piece of that is I didn't want anybody to say, oh, you poor girl, this happened. Well, how are you going to deal with it? And all that. That was not on the menu for me, because it wouldn't serve me. It would just keep me in that second arrow all the time. So that's what came out of my lovely conversation with Freya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Freya. Who else? Is there somebody else out there?
Freya.
I might say something.
Hi, Freya.
What I got out of this exercise was wonderful, because it had me realize now, I mean, coming back to the group, that something happened. I had emotions about it, and I mostly let them go. I let over half of them go, but that they're still kind of the story's kind of still rumbling around in me.
Mhm.
And that I really would like to go ahead and complete that in myself. And yeah, that it's worth it to not clutter up my emotions and my mind, not clutter my life with things, you know, the second the second arrow. And
Yeah.
so and one step of doing that is learning, you know, when other things happen like that, learning to communicate in the moment with whatever I feel like needs being communicated, and be able to articulate what's going on, and just be able to let it go completely. Jeez, the
Yeah.
forgiveness and all that.
And how tender can you be with yourself in that process? That's the compassion for yourself.
Right.
And can you give yourself a second and a third and a fourth chance?
Right.
That maybe what we thought we've unleashed or given away or dropped is still sticky. It's one of those trick candles that comes popping back up on the birthday cake after you've blown it out. And you thought you blew it out, but damn, here it is again. It's burning bright. And the compassion to go ahead and to blow it out again. And eventually it will die, but it might take a while. Yeah. Anybody else?
I just
Oh,
wanted to say, Christopher, I love the whole, I know you probably talked to me about this somewhere along the line, but it's like I heard it for the first time tonight. The whole idea of a first arrow, second arrow thing, it's new to me. So Larry and I were talking, of course, you know, I dominate, but he was, Larry, if I may say so, you were kind of struggling with what painful, physical, painful thing. And to me, it was an emotional, painful wound. It
Yeah.
wasn't physical. Larry, if you wanted to.
Yeah. We didn't get through it, but what I was explaining to Paul is that, you know, I have this emotional reaction to hypocrisy. Okay. And
Hmm.
I find myself getting all worked up about it and feeling bad and against the person who I feel is being a hypocrite. And I use the example on a political level of what's happening with Lindsey Graham right now and Trump and all that. But I also had done some therapy around this as well. And I realized, and what the therapist pointed out to me was that when I was growing up, my mother, we lived in a small town, and my mother used to always want to be liked by everybody in the town, whether she liked them or whether she knew them well or not. And as we would drive through town, she would always wave at everybody and would ask us to wave at everybody. And I knew she was waving at people who she didn't really care about, but she was just doing this thing. And that bugged the hell out of me even as a kid. And the therapist pointed out that I didn't like it because I thought my mother was being hypocritical. And I have carried that with me all these years. And what I used to do is scream at the TV when somebody was being hypocritical. I literally would yell at the TV. Well, at least I've gotten that under control and I don't do that anymore. But I still get all emotionally caught up in when I'm around somebody or working with someone, or I feel somebody's being hypocritical. I don't know why it bothers me that much, but maybe it goes all the way back to just my experience with my mother. So that's where I was headed, Paul.
Right. And that second arrow thing, Christopher, is if you can dissolve the second arrow, it's just the realization that there's two arrows going on. That's mind-blowing to me. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but it's kind of, it'll make me, when my trigger gets pulled the next time, I'll be able to go, oh, that was the first arrow. And my response is the second arrow, and I'm just going to lean to the side and let it go by.
All right.
You know, we did talk
Good,
about
good.
this very similar situation today, but we didn't have, right, Dr. Judith?
Right.
Dr. Dan today. And it was kind of about the golden rule. And but we did get into conflict a little bit about, the exercise of conflict. But knowing that it's 1 arrow and 2 arrow kind of makes it a little easier for me to process more quickly and not to painfully respond, but maybe just wait, just let it pass and move on. And to me, that's a much more, I would say, graceful way of going through it. Thank you, Christopher. It's a good exercise.
Thank
Yes.
you. Looks like Susan.
I just had a realization about the second arrow. I think I've carried this second arrow around, waiting for something, the first arrow, to show up again, so I can use that second arrow with my story. So I think I'm perpetuating the same old story, not obviously consciously, but there's a little bit of the arrow that's always there. That second arrow is kind of like, remember me? Remember me? And then finding something that, oh yeah, that brings that out. So anyway, that was my realization.
Thank you, Susan. There is something about how we put the second arrow on our altar.
Oh,
Somehow that becomes our identity and we worship it. And we think that we can't live without it. And if it's even questioned, we get very defensive. And we have to take a look at, what is it that we really want? Do we want to worship the second arrow, or do we want peace? And that can be really tricky, because a lot of times we just want that second arrow. And that again is the compassion, again and again. I'm going to tell a quick story before this is a really quick story now. Ram Dass story. And some people came to him saying their mother was dying. She is just a nasty woman, but we think you might be able to help her in the dying process. And Ram Dass said, of course. And so he goes to visit her, and yes, she's a very nasty person, bitter, self-absorbed, narcissistic, and tells Ram Dass to get out of here. I don't want to enter this spiritual mumbo jumbo. And he says, sure, but I'm going to come back the next day. Is that okay? She said, get out of here. He comes back the next day. She throws him out. A couple more days, and finally she says, well, you can stick around today. And they hang out and they talk a little bit. And she's terminal. She's less than 2 weeks away. Nobody knows that at the time, but that was what was going on. And they start to talk, and they start building a connection. And she said, yeah, you can come back tomorrow. I'd like that. And he's not trying to change her. He's not doing anything. All he's trying to do is to establish a connection and to listen, basically to listen to her stories like nobody has ever listened before. And something started to soften within her. But she was suffering, and the pain was getting so much that she was getting angrier and angrier and thrashing out. And it was really, really tough. And about a week before she passed, he came in and took a look at her, and something had changed, radically changed. There was something to the degree of her suffering had burned a circuit, a new circuit within her. And that she was glowing with light. She was a love bunny. All of that anger and animosity had gone, it had vanished. And they connected on a completely different level. And she was a delight to be around.
wow.
She had physical pain, but it wasn't being expressed anywhere. She was just present to it and could deal with it. And she died that way. And her family was ecstatic because they got a chance to meet their mother for the first time, truly
Huh.
meet her.
Wow.
And so this next exercise, it's going to be like 6 minutes, Peter, is going to be quickly to take a look in your life. Have you learned something from your suffering? Has it taught you to be more humble, more gracious, perhaps more loving and understanding? Maybe you could find some examples of when suffering, as hard as it was, actually tempered your spirit and your soul in a very positive way. So is there a silver lining to suffering? That's the question. Peter, if you could break us out.
Okay, have fun. Oh, wait. I join. Hi, Elka.
I was alone.
I don't know why. Yeah,
I
there's
was
somebody-
alone in the breakout room.
Yeah, that's why I brought you back in this room.
Okay. Oh, okay. You noticed.
Yeah, I have the big picture.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's somebody that isn't getting that notice to
It's
join.
okay.
So that leaves somebody orphaned. So I brought you back here. So do you want to share quickly something around a silver lining that you
So
revealed?
I definitely think there's silver lining to it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We definitely can. We have the capacity to deal with our suffering. You know,
Yeah.
the less attention we give to it,
Right.
the more the silver lining makes itself visible.
Yeah. Once we,
So that's my part, my wisdom for this, not my
Yeah.
original wisdom, but that's
Yeah,
what the Buddha taught.
yeah, I agree. It's those things that we take issue with. If we, well, even just looking back and having looked back in my life, there are things that came along that helped me in ways that I hadn't anticipated.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about. Yeah. And to
Well, you know,
recognize-
every time something troubles me, the thing I do is I sit on the cushion and look inside,
yeah,
and you know, and see what's going on, and even the physical pain of the sitting goes away. It just
Yeah.
goes away.
right. It's interesting how if we sort of embrace it,
It is
and it-
incredibly
it just kind of
miraculous.
goes, okay. I
We
guess that's
don't, when
gonna
we
be
don't
around.
give it the attention,
Right.
you know, either negative or the positive attention even. So, you
Yeah.
know, while
Yeah.
staying equanimous around
Right.
what is
Right.
happening, whoever or whatever kicks us. So,
Right. Yeah. It's a funny thing that way, how it's.
yeah, it's just incredible. Like it's really no explanation other than that it's miraculous.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing how something like that will disappear after we sort of let go and take the energy away from it.
Right,
Not give
right.
it- not give
Well,
it the energy that-
yeah, yeah, right.
that we give it. Yeah. This is good. It's always good to hear other people share their stories. It helps.
Right, yeah.
Then we can
plenty-
relate.
There's
to-
plenty in life we could moan and groan about.
Right, and it doesn't really change anything, so why not look at the things that we can do something about, or how we can be sort of a light in the world, and
Yeah, sort of find some happiness beyond that.
right,
Yeah,
rather than
that's
just,
that's really quite a wonderful thing.
yes, there is that opportunity for that
Yeah,
realization to not let those negative things run us and keep us
right, yeah.
from sharing the light that we are, in the world. Right, exactly.
Yeah, I had just this fantastic, oh, you have to pay attention to the time frame, right?
Oh, no, I can see it. It's coming up to 30 seconds.
Oh,
So,
okay.
that's
I
okay.
met this, I was sitting having coffee at Pete's out in this little sweet little garden that I go to next to the Pete's store. And this young woman was sitting there and she was about to sit in the lotus position and she couldn't quite do it. So I started talking to her and ended
Yeah.
up talking to her for an hour and a half.
Oh,
It
nice.
was just the sweetest interlude
Oh,
of the
that's
day.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot, and we somehow connected instantly.
That's nice. And then rather
Oh,
than
it was
judging
just a
her,
gift, Peter.
it became an opportunity to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody was sitting nearby and overheard it and commented on it, because she was only 20 and I'm 83. So
Right.
it was pretty sweet.
That was
Pretty
nice.
sweet.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And moments like that are rare,
Yes, absolutely.
They're
Nice
gifts.
to-
They're really
nice.
a gift.
Nice to cherish that. That's great. Good to talk with you. Thank you.
So here we are.
Here we are.
Thank you, wonderful partner.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eileen.
You, Freya.
Hey, Zoe.
Jesus. Go. There we go.
Oh, hi.
Back. Whew.
Thank
Well,
you, Christopher.
yeah, thank you, Judith, and hope you've all thanked your wonderful partners.
Yes.
If we had more time, we would continue this conversation, but I think we've come to a conclusion for this evening. I want to thank you for your generosity of exploring and for your willingness to be so open about it, because it's the work that you do here with one another carries out and has value in the world. And the more that we can actually be mindful and compassionate and have attention to that second arrow in our judgments of other people, and to look at them as their behavior rather than who they are. As their behavior and rather than who they are. And to be able to know that who they are, yes, is that part of the oneness of the universal divinity of all of life. And their actions may just suck. So keeping that in mind and holding them accountable to their action, but also remaining open so that they have safe passage in your mind. And with that, I thank you for this evening.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank
Show our
you.
appreciation to Christopher, everyone.
Thank you, Christopher.
Yay.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you for allowing us to explore all of the silver linings in our hurdles in life.
Yes, indeed.
Silver
Thank you,
lining.
Mr. Brown, as always. So in the spirit of gratitude, let's see what's going on at the center, shall we?
But of course.
But of course,
Please, take it away, Paul.
I know. And on the first slide is, come on, machine, work with me here. Why, there we go. No, we don't. I am so sorry. Having a problem. There we go. This Sunday, September 4th, practitioner and ministerial student Teresa Gardner will start off the September theme of work. That's our September theme. Tonight was the last of nature. So with a talk on good works is her title. Please join us in person with meditation at 10 and service at 10:30. We are now streaming live and directly to YouTube, and the link is on the homepage if you choose to watch the service from home. Next Wednesday, September 7th, practitioner and ministerial student Lucian Baker will continue the discussion of good works. Meditation at 6:30 and the service at 7. Wednesday night services will remain on Zoom.
Hooray!
Yay, manifest more money. This life-changing class starts tomorrow, so sign up now. Join Reverend Rochelle McCreary, a New Thought minister, for this class titled Manifest More Money. It is a 5-week Thursday evening class starting tomorrow. 50% of the $149 class fee and investment in yourself comes back to the center. Support yourself while supporting your spiritual community. The details and registration is on the events page. This class will be in Zoom. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. is the memorial for longtime congregant Velma Norman. All are welcome to attend. That's tomorrow at 11 at the center. Visit the Burke store after service on Sunday. Lots of new products and new books for your enjoyment, and everything is 30% off in September. It's never too early to start your Christmas shopping at the Spirit Treasure bookstore. We have a booth at the Oakland Pride this Sunday, September 4th. Join us after service at Broadway and 20th in downtown Oakland. On Sunday, September 11th, the Education Ministry will be honoring all the students who completed certified classes since the beginning of the pandemic. We are planning a fun celebration, so make sure to join us in the sanctuary for service on September 11th. Coming up, Reverend Catherine Sachs, assisted by Reverend Jerry Carter, are offering a new foundational class, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, for the cost of materials only. This will be a hybrid class, which you can attend in Zoom or in person. Registration will be starting next week, so watch for that on the events page, as all of our events are. And always, for information on all that is going on at our Oakland Center, visit the website, www.oaklandcsl.org. Be sure to check our events page. Don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And if you're not receiving it already, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Village News, on the homepage of our website. Look at all these great folks that serve us right there. They're all participating in keeping us together during these interesting times. So thank you guys for all of your support from Constance and Reverend Jerry. I'll just say those thank yous in a minute. It's really time to read the new minister's covenant together. So as I read this, please follow along. It's important because we use this as a prayer and affirmation and visualization of calling in our new senior minister. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. And knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to reveal spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God's wisdom. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by Spirit. For it is written, I am filled with divine wisdom. I allow divine mind to fill my mind now. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as unity in the community. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspiring unity and diversity, embracing and nourishing our community. I am awakening the wisdom within. I am healing and expanding our community with the power of love. I am engaging the community and building a world that works for everyone. I am deepening family consciousness. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they are revealed in a way that illumines spirit and serves the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is. Ashe. So thank you for joining with me and remembering what we're doing at this time at this center, calling in our new minister and all of the desires that we wish to have as characteristics in a new senior minister. That puts me in a humble and grateful space. So I'm very, very grateful for everything that we have at the center. Peter, if we could have the next slide, please. So when I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and I realize that my contribution with tribute, literally translated, contribution. I give with tribute. I give in honor of gratitude. We're so blessed. You saw those pictures of all those people that perform such loving service to keep our center afloat. I'm grateful for everyone that donates, whether it's time, treasure, or talent. So if you take whatever that gift is and hold it close to your heart, please follow along with me as I do the giving affirmation. This gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. So how are ways that you can financially contribute? From the homepage, you press that button, Abundance and Giving, and it'll let you use a credit card, and it'll let you use texting, and it'll let you use Zelle or teach you how to use Zelle. You can mail it, or you can join us at the center on Sundays where I'm offering baskets like those hands willing to receive your gift and by sharing your abundance. So I'm grateful for all of this and the more. We're so lucky tonight. I like the word lucky. I prefer lucky when I'm at the casino. So I want to thank everybody and recognize in this gratitude how fortunate we are to have a beautiful facility and a place where we have a leadership team that's working diligently to maintain it and create the space where we can do great things in the world. I want to thank Susan Urquhart Brown tonight for doing our lovely meditation and setting the tone for the evening. Of course, Christopher Brown is our speaker. Reverend Jerry, you're always here supporting us on Wednesday nights. Even when you're supposed to be away, you text me and say, I'm thinking of you at 7 o'clock, wherever you are in the world. So you're always supporting this service, and I'm so grateful to you for that and for all the things that we get to do here at this center, the small group work with Susan and Zoe, the Dr. Dan, the Ministry of Prayer is always available. The practitioner team willing to pray for us through the website, and how does that all happen? And that's Constance and her administration team upstairs, how fortunate we are to have their talents contributing in that way. So shout out to Constance for all the work that she does. And then there's people like the Zoom thing that we get to meet and see each other with in the comfort of our own homes with a pretty shirt, and we ain't talking about what's below the frame, okay? I don't have to put on pretty pants on Wednesday night, only on Sundays, right? So I want to thank Peter up in Portland for being with us tonight, always leading us fabulously as the Zoom host. Sabrina is in New York, contrary to what her picture shows, the Golden Gate Bridge. She's visiting with her family, but she still found time to join us all the way from New York tonight to support us. And Alice down by the lake, it's not far, but it's still excellent work that she does to take care of us on AV. So thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Zoe. He's always here on Wednesdays to make sure. Thank all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can't think of a better way to close than the way we opened with prayer. I don't think I've forgotten anything, Reverend Jerry, have I? We're good to go. Practitioner fabuloso. Susan Urquhart Brown is closing us out in prayer tonight. Susan, if you'll take it away.
So following Paul's prayer of gratitude, I just recognize the one that is here, that one presence, that one divine wisdom that we are all connected with and expressions of the one. And knowing that this meeting tonight was divinely appointed, and each and every person here tonight have shared from their heart and their soul so beautifully to bring our community into this beautiful conversation of, is suffering optional, and bringing ahas and just realizations that when we came to our Zoom, we didn't know we were going to receive. So I am grateful for the particular revelation I got tonight. So I am grateful for Christopher for sharing himself and his wisdom. And I'm grateful for each and every person who is here, who just shines their light so beautifully and in our community. And all of us arrive in a perfect place in presence, right here and right now, exactly where we are. Beautiful, loving, passionate, and kind beings. So I am just very grateful for this whole evening, each and every person here tonight, and joining us, perhaps listening to this on tape. And let's just join with me in gratitude, saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
And so
Amen.
it is.
So
Blessed be, blessed be. Thank you,
Blessed
Susan.
be.